Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply misunderstood psychological phenomenon, severe social withdrawal. You know the exact scenario we're talking about, right? You haven't texted anyone in months, your birthday just kind of passed with absolutely no plans, and when someone actually did ask to hang out, you said you were busy. But what if that wasn't just a convenient excuse? What if, surprisingly, your isolation wasn't some character flaw, but a highly advanced survival tactic? Let's dive right in and figure this out.
If you've been in this space, you've almost certainly been asked this exact question: why did you cut everyone off? It carries so much heavy weight, doesn't it? Society just loves to label the person who walks away as cold, suddenly changed, or honestly, just heartless. But you know what? That judgment completely misses the reality of the whole situation.
Because here is the twist, and the true, quiet motive behind all that isolation. You actually weren't lying when you said you were busy. You were busy protecting your peace. And honestly, you've probably never felt lighter. You didn't maliciously sever ties with everyone. You just stopped pretending you weren't already alone in those relationships.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the villain origin myth. So people are always super quick to assume the villain myth, calling you cold or heartless just because you left. But the reality is entirely different. You didn't just wake up one day feeling heartless. You woke up after years of being the reliable glue holding everything together. You were the friend who drove hours for other people's crises, the one who remembered birthdays like it was literally your full-time job. But when you needed something, you might have gotten a "sorry to hear that" text if you were lucky. You gave everything and received virtually nothing in return.
Which brings us to Section 2, the relationship spreadsheet.
Without you even realizing it, your nervous system essentially turned into this exhausted background accountant. Your brain turned every single interaction into devastating data collection. You look at what you give, you text first, you adjust your schedule, you sacrifice your own needs constantly. And what do you get back? Crickets. Total tumbleweeds. The math just stopped making sense. Your incredible survival machine of a brain finally recognized that showing up with your whole heart just meant ending up alone with the pieces. So when you finally decide to control the exit, society loves to slap the label of destructive self-sabotage on you. But they're entirely wrong about that. It's actually highly advanced pattern recognition. We need to reframe the act of leaving. It's not a destructive flaw, it's a fiercely protective psychological mechanism. Because let's be real, abandonment hurts significantly less when you are the one who initiates it. Let's dig a little deeper into where this comes from in Section 3, the psychology of abandonment. This whole dynamic didn't just suddenly pop up in adulthood. The blueprint was formed way back in your childhood years, when you first learned that needing people was actually dangerous. Maybe that came from emotionally absent parents, or simply being told your feelings were an inconvenience. Then, throughout your adult years, every relationship that followed just confirmed that early map. Friends vanished the second you got depressed. Partners bailed when things got hard. Which brings us right to present day. You now control the one and only variable you actually can: the exit. The absolute crucial underlying truth here is this: your brain learned that connection equals eventual abandonment. Your nervous system literally wired itself around this deeply ingrained truth while it was still developing. You aren't broken. Your brain was just doing its job, learning how to keep you safe based on the hard data it was given. Moving on to Section 4, walls versus boundaries. You know, people will confidently tell you that you've built walls. But hold on, there is a massive difference here. Walls keep absolutely everyone out. You didn't build walls, you built boundaries. And boundaries just keep the wrong people out. You haven't stopped wanting genuine connection. You have simply refused indiscriminate access to people who feel familiar, sure, but are ultimately unsafe. The tricky part is, after years of only the wrong people showing up, those boundaries can easily start to look exactly like walls to an outsider. That leads us nicely into Section 5, the language of unavailability. Through all of this, you've developed what psychologists call hypervigilance. Now, don't let the clinical term fool you. It's not paranoia or some kind of mental defect. It is an incredibly accurate data collection state. It's a sharply honed detective skill used to spot abandonment from a mile away. You are reading micro patterns that everyone else completely misses. The subtle shifts in a text message tone. The way effort only ever flows in one direction. Your pattern recognition isn't pessimism, it's absolute precision.
And hand in hand with that, you've gained a secondary, truly fascinating skill: fluency in emotional unavailability. You can accurately decode the convenient excuses of people who treat you like a convenience store. You translate phrases like, "oh, I've been so busy," into what they actually mean. Every "we should totally catch up" dies exactly when you expect it to. You've seen the pattern repeat so many times that, well, you've simply stopped being surprised by it.
So what do? You run this quiet, dramatic little test to verify your data. Step 1, you stop initiating. Step 2, you stop trying to make plans. And step 3, you wait to see if they actually notice your absence. And the devastating truth of the matter? They rarely ever do. That silence tells you absolutely everything you need to know about the reality of that relationship.
This brings us to section 6, surviving the quiet.
There is this immense irony when it comes to loneliness. The absolute loneliest you ever felt wasn't when you finally cut everyone off. No, it was sitting totally invisible in a room full of supposed friends, being in a relationship, and feeling fundamentally alone. Compare that to the quiet you have right now. Sure, you handle emergencies alone, you might spend holidays solo, but instead of devastation, you feel unexpectedly peaceful. Because physical isolation actually hurts far less than being completely ignored while actively in a relationship.
And that brings us to what is arguably the most powerful realization of this whole explainer. Isolation isn't the opposite of connection. It's the absence of rejection. Isolation is simply the one guaranteed space where you cannot be abandoned simply because there is no one close enough to leave you. You're not closed off at all. You are protected.
So what does choosing yourself actually look like in practice? Let me tell you, cutting people off isn't the absence of love, it's the ultimate presence of self-preservation. You are actively refusing a broken version of connection. You are surviving, not being cold. You finally realized you can't keep pouring from an empty cup. You are stopping the endless wait for people to show up. And most importantly, you are protecting that tiny, flickering flame of hope that remembers what real, genuine connection should feel like. And I think that gives us this incredibly hopeful reframe. You are keeping the space clear for when connection finally feels safe again. Your current isolation, it's actually a healing phase. You aren't trapped by these walls, you are being kept alive by them. You are staying whole so that one day you might be ready to try again, but this time only on terms that honor who you actually are. I want to leave you with a provocative final thought today. You've survived the quiet, but when you are truly ready, who gets to hear your voice? It's a forward-looking challenge for you. You've cleared out all the noise, you've aggressively protected your peace. Eventually, you may decide to reopen those carefully guarded boundaries, and when you do, you get to choose exactly who is worthy of walking through them. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and please, take care of your peace.